Welcome in, everybody. My name is Joseph Igo, and today we are ranking the top 10 tracks on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule heading into 2025. Um, if you don't really follow NASCAR, some of you probably obviously do, but for some of you that don't or maybe are very new to the sport, these the best tracks can change depending on little things that they change to the car or just overall how the track's wearing down over time, tire compounds, the whole thing. So many things can play into, how a track is perceived, whether it be a good or bad one. And so let's just get this thing started with my honorable mentions. And, if you would have asked me this question maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I would have completely said I would have easily said that these tracks are in the potentially even the top five in NASCAR, but at the moment they're honorable mentions. Those being on the left here, Martinsville Speedway, and on the right, Bristol Motor Speedway. And really, it's really not the track's fault. I think really since the implementation of the next gen car, it has really impacted the short track racing, and NASCAR's taken some swings to try to fix that. Most notably at Bristol in the spring last year when Goodyear took a huge swing with the tires and created a tire that could only last a 30-lap run without exploding. So, and then we look at the Bristol race in the fall, and Kyle Larson absolutely obliterates the field. So yeah, these tracks when these tracks are at their best, you can argue these are two of the best tracks in NASCAR. But at the moment, heading into 2025, I need to see the short track package and how it races before I can definitively say where these tracks rank. But as going into the year, they're not in the top 10. The first track in the top 10, coming at number 10, is Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is a track I have covered races at several different race weekends. And as for the on-track racing, it's pretty good. It's really good. Towards the end of the Gen 6 car, it wasn't that great, but then again, the Gen 6 car, you're going to hear this a lot in this video, was not very good on intermediates towards the end. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It just, compared to the next gen car, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, the next gen car is unbelievable on these types of tracks. So, yeah, Las Vegas, awesome track. Just, I mean, look at that background scenery with all the mountains and stuff, and over off of if you look towards like off turn one and like turns 1 and 2, you can see the Las Vegas Strip, which is really cool. Facilities are incredible there, and obviously brings out a very fun crowd and a lot of celebrities. Actually, every race I've covered at this track has had a ton of celebrities there. I think the biggest one I ever saw was Nick Cannon, or Dana White drove the pace car, I think, at the first race I was ever there for. So, yeah. Coming in at number 8, we have Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen, in my opinion, is the best road course on the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. I think the thing that really stands out at this track for me is how fast it is for a road course. Not every road course, do you just kind of maintain a lot of speed like you do at Watkins Glen, and that makes the racing super entertaining, in my opinion. And over the years, we just had so many good finishes. I mean, just look at the last race there between Chris Buescher and Shane Van Gisbergen. Incredible stuff. I love this track so much. I'm forgetting. I don't believe this is a playoff race next year, because it was a playoff race this past year. I believe they moved it out of the playoffs, so I'll have to go see. But yeah, Watkins Glen is awesome. Coming in at number 8 is Michigan Motor Speedway. I think it's Michigan International Speedway, but Michigan. Michigan is an incredible track for several different reasons. It's the fastest on the NASCAR circuit. It is one of the more strategical challenges for teams, because given the race length and how long the track is, towards the end of that race, you can end up on, a 2-stop strategy, a 3-stop strategy. Just kind of how it goes at Michigan, and the racing is really, really good. It's not tandem racing, and it's not pack racing, but it's kind of a mixture, it can feel like. where you end up with these groups of cars where they're like drafting off each other, and then obviously they end up battling. Um, but yeah, no, Michigan's an awesome track. I definitely want to get to this track eventually. So yeah, love Michigan. And the race this past year when Tyler Reddick won was a very, very good race. So yeah, super challenging too. So next, coming in at number 7, we have Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we're talking about the oval at Charlotte, not the Roval. This year we were a little disappointed, obviously, with how the Coca-Cola 600 played out here, with the rain delay and eventually them calling the race with Christopher Bell leading just past halfway. So very bad break there, but we got to think back to the racing there the past couple of years. It's been unreal. It's been so good. That's going to go for every intermediate on this list, is that, since the next gen car, the racing here is at these intermediates has gotten really good. So yeah, I love Charlotte. Obviously helps having a huge race like the Coca-Cola 600 there, with all the pomp and circumstance on Memorial Day weekend. It being the same day as the Indy 500, obviously we have a huge storyline with that coming up, with Kyle Larson retrying the double. So, Charlotte's awesome. I think we need to, especially for that race at Charlotte in the fall, we need to make that a oval race and not on the Roval, because the oval is just too good. I got to be honest. All right, and coming in at number 6, we have Daytona. Daytona is obviously one of the most iconic tracks on the circuit. I mean, just look at how many fans, and this is just a very partial view of the grandstands. Just look at how big it is. It's one of the biggest, seating capacities of any sporting venue in America, and let alone the world. The racing here is awesome. The facilities, from what I've heard, are incredible. And the history, there's so much rich history at this track, to where it feels like such a big event when they race at this track, whether it be for, the Daytona 500, obviously the biggest race in NASCAR, or it being the summer race, which is the last race of the regular season, and kind of with the wild card nature of pack racing and NASCAR, which obviously Daytona is going to have pack racing. It leads to anybody being able to win. So that race being, the last race of the regular season, obviously it's like a wild card golden ticket opportunity right at the end of the regular season before the playoffs. And the drama it creates is unbelievable. So, all right. Getting into the top 5 now, coming at number 5, we have Talladega. So back-to-back super speedways. Talladega, a lot of lore here, and it's probably the most intimidating racetrack on the Cup Series schedule. There's some other ones that could make that argument about, but so many drivers just talk about how nervous they are when they wake up on race day at Talladega, because they know how badly things can go wrong there and how devastating the consequences can be. So, and then as far as the racing is concerned, it's obviously incredible racing. It lends to, I remember in the race back in the fall, we had various periods of the race where we are 4 wide, like 10, 15 cars deep into the field. 4 wide. It looks fake. It looks completely fake. And you can't replicate, or you can't really translate how intense that is to somebody who doesn't watch the sport. Like, one person misses their spot on where they need to put the car on the racetrack, sending 15 cars flying in every which direction. Who knows if they're going to slam the wall, slam each other, or what. So yeah, no, Talladega is one of the most intense racetracks on the schedule, and yeah, it's an incredible track. It's got a lot of history, a lot of lore. So yeah. Coming at number 4, we have Darlington. So Darlington, people have described it as like the Wrigley Field of NASCAR. One of the oldest tracks in NASCAR, maybe the oldest. Don't quote me on that. I should have that stat on me, but yeah, Darlington's an incredible track. this past year, or at least in the Southern 500, which the fall race, this past year was kind of a blowout for like the first like 80% of that race until a late race restart caused some drama at the end. But typically, this racetrack lends itself to some pretty entertaining racing. And it's such a hard track to race at because the fastest way around that track is to run right up against the wall. And obviously, that's a very risky move. And yeah, no, Darlington, there's just such an aura about Darlington that screams just everything that I love about NASCAR. Darlington has it. So, all right, coming in at number 3, we are in the top 3, folks. Number 3, we have Kansas. So we have this photo here. I don't have the photo of the finish of this race, but nothing turned me on to Kansas Speedway like this moment right here. 5 wide pass for the lead on the front stretch. And yeah, this track's so like just aesthetically pleasing to watch. And the funny thing is, like, kind of like we said about Bristol and Martinsville, you know, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have said this track's in the top 3. I would have maybe said in the top 10. Like, that's a big maybe. But now, I mean, it's definitively a top 3 track, and you could even make the argument it's the best. So, and I guess I could go for any of the tracks in the top 3 or 4. You can make a very good argument that it's the best. They're the best tracks. But yeah, no, this track, it just lends to such good racing. Had some phenomenal finishes, whether that be, you know, the Larson and Buescher photo finish, or that being the Tyler Reddick 3 wide pass for the lead, taking the white flag a year or two ago. Yeah, this track's awesome. Love Kansas. It's definitely a track. It's definitely in the top 2 or 3 tracks I'm looking to go to very soon. All right, coming in number 2, we have Atlanta Motor Speedway. And look at this finish. This was the finish of the race in the fall or in the spring of last year, with the 3 wide photo finish between Daniel Suarez getting the win, Kyle Busch, and Ryan Blaney. I mean, just look at that. I think the 3rd closest finish in NASCAR history. So yeah, the racing here since they've reconfigured it is unbelievable. And going back to that race, the race we have photographed here, with about 50 or so laps ago, like, have you ever watched like a football game or something where you're like, I don't know, early in the 3rd quarter and you're just watching and you're like, yeah, I'm watching an instant classic right now. And you just instantly know, like, yeah, you're watching something like really special. That's what I felt like with this race with about 50 laps to go. You had the sun setting, some of the craziest moves you've ever seen being made on the racetrack. And this track, like, it's a super speedway now, just the way it races. But you compare it to a super speedway like the Talladega or Daytona, it is so much more narrow. It's way shorter. It's just such an intense, just coliseum. It's just so intense. So yeah, Atlanta, Dale Jr., I believe it was Dale Jr., said that Atlanta is the hottest ticket in NASCAR currently, and frankly, I'd have to agree. I mean, it's really good, but does it beat my number 1 track? For me, it doesn't. And coming up my number 1 track, I have Homestead Miami Speedway. I was at the race in the fall, which a lot of people have said is easily the best race of the next-gen era, which I would have to agree. Yeah, this track's awesome. It's just so good. I mean, the past 2 years, the racing has just been incredible. You know, kind of like a Darlington, where the fastest way around this track is to run as close to the wall without touching it. And you got guys like Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, who are really good at doing that, which is they call ripping the boards, which that's like what they call running the wall at Homestead. Ripping the boards, and this track is unbelievable. It's just so like aesthetically pleasing to watch the racing at this track. But you know what really turned me on to this track was when I was taking photos of like along the wall on the exit of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. I mean, one of the most intense parts of the racetrack to stand at. Just given, you know, they're coming right off of the banking into onto the back straightaway. And they're just carrying so much speed, and it's just like zhong, 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 zhong. And you know, I was like, okay, this is intense. But then when it's like lap 30 And I'm like, I shouldn't be standing this close to the wall because the racing 30 laps into a green flag run is still absurdly intense. Yeah, that's when I knew Homestead was really like that. And then I get back to the media center and I'm just watching this racing and I'm like, this is insane. Like, it's just constant battles amongst the top drivers. And it's like, you never got a break in the action, which was awesome. And then obviously the finish was just absurd. So, yeah, I mean, I think Homestead's the best track in NASCAR. There's no reason this should not be the championship racetrack. I think the fact that we took it out of the playoffs and only gave it one and only have it currently racing 1 day a year, I think it's pretty criminal personally, but I don't make those decisions. But if anybody who does make those decisions are listening, make Homestead the championship race and give it a second date in the spring, please. Thank you very much. That'll do it, folks. Those are my top 10 tracks heading into the NASCAR Cup Series season. Let me know down below if you guys agree with this or if I got this totally wrong. I don't think I do because I watch NASCAR pretty hard. But yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank y'all.